by the government, and that's the Lagos State government. As we all remember that the governor himself was here, and he's made very clear commitments. We also have very clear words of commitment from the private sector. We had our captains of industries, as well as also members of the public, members of the civil societies, non-governmental organizations, community-based organizations, change makers who are MSMEs, as well as also circular economy enthusiasts. I mean, from the discussion and from the comments, the keynote of the governor himself, he's restated commitments to leverage circular economy to combat climate change as it speaks directly to the team's agenda as proposed by the Lagos State government. We also heard very few words from respected and eminent personalities, including the representative of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment. We had also the Deputy Consular General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands who was here, also delivering the message and the goodwill message from the government and the Kingdom of the Netherlands. We had a regional director who was also represented, the regional director of UNIDO. Our very, very dear ambassador for circular economy from the Kingdom of the Netherlands also sent a video message. He would have loved to be here. And his message all bordered on the need to actually come together and build a sustainable and a resourceful economy, because it is us as partners, as well-wishers. They can only share their experience with us, but it is for us to actually look critically at our own situation, look at our own challenges, and also profile solutions as to how we want to solve that. And one of the high points of his message also was understanding the value chains, creating and supporting the value chains. If I move on now to the presentation by Lafarge, where they were talking about the principles of regenerative economy. Lafarge was here sharing with us the principles and model of how they themselves manage the waste within their facilities. And as we know, knowledge here is very important also for other companies, but also it gives opportunities for our change makers, our problem solvers, to identify other areas within the Lafarge value system and process system that they can actually profile solution to. We had two panel discussions yesterday, very interesting panel discussion, I must say, where we talked about policies, hubs, agencies, and the global treaties. We saw the role of the academia. We also saw the need, to break down silos. As we said, we've been all talking in our own little spaces, but now to break down those walls and bring the conversation, convert the conversation in. From our eminent personalities that included Torulope Ogunoga, Mr. Yomi Banjo, and Professor Adebisi. They gave us clear, recommendations as to how policies and the development of integrated hubs, focused hubs, can help also scale our transition towards circular economy. We looked at the second panel, which was talking about energy and circular economy, the just transition for Nigeria and beyond. We saw one of our panelists from the electricity distribution company. We also saw one of our consultants, the energy consultant, who spoke clearly about the role of individuals, the role of businesses, how they can also ensure that their strategies and solutions, their processes can begin to adopt those principles, designing waste out and ensuring that at least from our end, one-to-one, one step at a time, one company at a time, we do our part. One of the interesting things we also had yesterday was the role of digitization, the digital transformation, and we heard from our colleagues and partners from Estonia, where they also shared with us their own expertise, their own knowledge, their own experience, how innovation has been fostered, how innovation is being promoted to ensure that solutions are not coming from top, but it's bottom up. It's coming from the citizens themselves. One key thing that stood out also was attitudinal change, that there is need for very focused awareness and attitudinal change. And lastly, we heard from our chairman, who was the Lagos State chairman of the Nigerian Association of small and medium-sized enterprise. I mean, his presentation was very thought-provoking, where he also talked about the challenges of the MSMEs in terms of government support, in terms of policy direction, and in terms of also support to help them grow. And he created and painted a picture of what the impact of supporting the SMEs can also do to the revenue of the country, and thereby also ensuring that the whole secular approach towards driving a society is. I mean, I took one thing out from his own presentation and his submission yesterday, that as we know that two-thirds of our companies, two-thirds of the companies in Nigeria also, MSMEs are the bane of any society, and that we see across developed societies in terms of their support for their SMEs. We're also glad we have them here, some of them who are actually trailblazers, change makers, ensuring that they deliver, identifying a challenge, creating a solution, testing it through, and then also being able to show a model for that, for scale. I believe strongly that today we'll be looking critically at how we, will promote strategies for future development, and we'll be glad to hear and build on the conversation yesterday with our panel discussions today, as well as also the commitments and pledge that we all will make as individuals, as businesses, as companies, as officials, also as Lagos citizens. I believe also, and I wish all will have a very lovely interaction today, and I will be joining in making the pledge. I also trust that you will be making the pledge and commitment to transit to circular economy today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abayomi Magbagbiola, for that fantastic recap of everything we did yesterday. Even those who are not here yesterday will have a feel of how everything went here yesterday. So thank you so much. I would also like to appeal to some of us who are taking the back seat. I think the front rows are not reserved for anyone. I will just want us to please move forward. Those seats are too empty and they are not good for our images. Please. Those of us at the back, let's occupy the seat in front. Yes. It is deliberate. We don't want to reduce the size of the hall because the size of the audience is not as much as yesterday. You are privileged to be in a very big hall. We want to give you a very good room to operate. Thank you very much. So, for the panel discussion today, it's going to be circular economy strategies for the future. I will introduce the moderator, the panelists, then thereafter hand over to the moderator to continue from there. Let me start with bringing on Mr. Moderator, Mr. Onimole Mobolaji, is the Director, Development Partnership Department, Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. Please, let's put our hands together for him. The panelists include our dear friend from Holland, Mr. Luca Polidori, Program Manager, Holland Circular Hotspot. Ms. Jocelyn Kola is Program Manager and Consultant, Circular Economy. Is she around? Ms. Jocelyn Kola. Or is she joining us online? Okay, I think she's joining us virtually. Technical crew, please take note of that. I hope we have linked up with her. Mr. Okpeyemi Oniowo is a name I like to call all the time. Policy Netherlands Consulate of Lagos. His name speaks about money. Thank you very much. Mr. Bennett Obazioha is of Hinomia Consulting. Mr. Bennett Obazioha. Is he also joining online? Okay. Mr. Sunday Adejo is of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN. Please, let's put our hands together for him, please. Okay. Technical crew? Okay. I think the virtual participant is already online. I would now like to hand over to Mr. Moderator. You have about 45 minutes for this conversation. Thank you.
Test. This one.
Hello. Okay, fine. Okay, good morning, everyone. It's been a wonderful day or 2 days going, and we would like to appreciate everybody for being part of this process. An auspicious one, first in its kind. The governor and the deputy governor, we appreciate their presence yesterday, and every other captains of industries, friends from Netherlands, the Holland Circular Hotspot. Basically, what we're talking about here is all about how to increase the product life cycle in order to prevent, too much, moving into extracting finite materials. So I have on the panel with me physically Mr. Okpe Oriniowo, the policy advisor in the Consulate of Kingdom of Netherlands. And I also have beside me Mr. Luca, no, I don't want to misspell it. Luca Poldori. Yes, I got that right. The program manager for Holland Circular Sport. Then I have the Mr. Sunday Adejo, right? Yeah, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. So I'll just hit the ground rolling. So basically, what we want to do now is to start walking the talk. And what we want to achieve is find a way to come up with strategies, framework, and how to develop concepts on being able to implement everything we've been discussing about. So I would like to start with one of the progenitors of this program, Mr. Poldori from Holland Circular Hotspot, to give us an insight on how Holland, as in the Kingdom of Netherlands, have been able to start the implementation of the process for movement from the linear model of economic management to circular economic management. Thank you.
Sure. Does it work? Yes. So basically, the Netherlands are seen as a front-running country in many, not only for outside Europe, but also in Europe. When you see a ranking of which countries are the most circular and the most innovative, the Netherlands are always in the top 3, top 5, whatever. I don't think that we are superior. I just think we started much earlier, and this is given because the country is a country which has more than half of the surface under the level of the water. So people understood pretty soon the importance of collaborating in order to face social challenges. And already in 1800, they started having collaborative approaches. They started to understand that in order to grow, in order to bring prosperity to the country, you have to collaborate and not only have a competitive mindset, but also a collaborative one when you see at that. Of course, in 200 years of history, a lot of things changed and there was a lot of improvement on the environmental side, but the moment where the different environmental topics became all classified under circular economy can be seen as 2013, where the European Commission released the first Circular Economy Action Plan for Europe. To that, the Netherlands reacted in a very prompt manner, I will say, by quickly after that saying, okay, if this is where Europe wants to go, we have to take this as a basis level, and we want to become fully circular by 2050. And then we had this whole process of road mapping and making action plans started and mobilized. But I do think that the Netherlands are still doing very differently from all the other countries in this is the understanding that you cannot have a circular economy in an isolated way, and therefore a big investment with all the different decentralized offices that the Netherlands has, including the consulates and the embassies, in order to facilitate the communication and to help other countries become circular as well. And so this is something that is still unique when you watch at least Europe, is still unique belonging to the Netherlands to such a level. Other countries are trying, but this is something where Europe should also learn.
Thank you very much. I want to believe I was able to pick quite a number of what he said, but some of the items coming out from his submission is one, you cannot deliver the circular economic model in isolation. You need to work collaboratively. Secondly, you need to also be able to look back and find a way to ensure that you do not only focus on economic gains as businessmen or as government, but also to manage your environment, right? So I'll be moving on to, I would like to have my friend from MAN last, because they are the receiving hand of every economic management change or policy tweaking. So I would like to turn to Mr. Oriniowo. How can the consular support the state government in putting up a framework for the delivery of the economic model? That is a circular economic model. What are your plans? What are you looking at? Thank you.
Right, thank you. I think for us, there's a lot of work that has been going on over the years. And I think what is profound, and I think Leonie did mention yesterday, is our support for Lagos State government to develop a roadmap. And we actually are ready to go, but some of the intelligence that we are taking is the fact that we realize that there's a lot of work going on at the national level, and a lot of partners are working in silos. The EU through UNIDO and the National Circular Economy Working Group is doing significant work in developing a national roadmap for Nigeria. We don't want to on our own then begin developing a parallel roadmap for Lagos State government that is not in alignment with the federal government or the federal roadmap. So the cue we're taking is let us support the National Working Group through the significant work that UNIDO is doing with the EU partnership. Then from there, we take lessons, or even perhaps just be a ratification or an adoption of the national roadmap, but now fitting into the Lagos context in terms of what we're going to do. So we're ready and just waiting for that process to be completed. We're part of that conversation as well. And once that is done, we're ready to kickstart it, not just for Lagos, but for other states in the Southwest. Oyo State has also shown interest. And the model we're also going with is that we understand that while government will continue, or the importance of government playing a significant role as far as policy framework. One of the things I picked from what Luca did say, and my own understanding of what has happened around the world, is the intentionality for circular economy. Without that clear intentionality, it will not just happen by magic. It's okay for us to set an ambitious goal and say maybe by 2030 or by 2060, but beyond those documents or those ambitions is now the critical work, small little actions that need to be taken on our part. A roadmap can just be there. There are so many roadmaps scattered across Nigeria that are not delivering anything in substance. So we must have that clear, and we are rooted in that understanding. And that's why for us it's important that the private sector must play a lead role. The private and the social sector must be actively engaged in if that transfer from linear to circular is going to be achieved. So it's a multi-stakeholder approach, and we believe that enterprise is at the front of this. In Africa today, right now, the circular economy is what is a $7 trillion economy. So for some people, it might not be the environment. It's unfortunate that for us, sometimes environment does not have the required buzzword or reflective of the kind of weight it should carry. This morning, Luca was showing me somewhere in Italy where he visits over the summer period. And just yesterday, right now, the entire place has been consumed with fire. It's never going to remain the same again. We might be fortunate not to have those kind of natural disasters, but it doesn't still mean that it doesn't have its implications on poverty for us. So it's important that we connect the dots. If it's the economic side of things, let us push that forward. Circular economy offers an opportunity to leapfrog our people out of poverty. So if that's the narrative we are pushing to empower our people, I think by all means. So for us, enterprise, the value creation that must happen from that, how our people can ultimately be empowered, the poverty indicators can go down, that is definitely an area for us. So we're about the business. Let government do their work as far as regulation and enabling environment. Let business do their work. Let the rest of us who are in the social sector on the advocacy part, on the behavioral change part, also do their work. Thank you.
Yeah, the government should do its work by providing the enabling environment. Those in the private sector should take the lead. And those in the advocacy level should also assist in pushing out the information out there that we are moving from the linear way of getting things done to circularity. However, personally, I have a challenge, and I've been thinking about it. Maybe I will leave that question to the end, but I would like to turn to my friend, Adejo, from Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. What are your expectations from this intended, or no, what we have already started, embracing? What are your expectations from the circular economic model?
The initiator of this particular exercise. The truth is that before now, or before it became it becomes a subject of discussion, MAN and her members, most of our members, they have been surviving on circular economy. The truth is that we have about 10 sectors in MAN, 72 subsectors, and basically where we find ourselves as a nation today, we are import dependent on raw material. And at the moment, we lack forests to bring in raw materials. So most of our industries revolve around making use of the waste, recycling. If you look at from pulp paper to metals, the scrap industry, the value chain is very wide. And I can tell us categorically that long before now, most of the surviving industries you have in Nigeria today, they are able to survive because they've been able to adapt this circular model of production. Number one, if you look at sourcing for raw materials, basically the cost is high. We are not competitive. We are challenged as a nation. So the truth is that if you go to the plastic industry, for example, recycling is the bane of sustenance for the plastic industry. And the issue we are going to have, like I said, I commend you guys for this initiative, but how involved is our government going to adopt this policy? Thank God Lagos State government was here yesterday. Outside the state government, we need to have a harmonized policy whereby both the state and federal government will be on the same page. The manufacturers in Nigeria today are the receiving end of most of these policies. And one thing we should look at, we want to promote circular economy. Circular economy will make our environment safer. Circular economy will create more jobs for Nigeria. Circular economy will generate more revenue for government. But for us to get it right, I think the first thing we need to put on the table in the roadmap, let's incentivize circular economy. When you put incentive on the table, you can be able to promote this. For example, if you go to the plastic industry, today most of our drainages are blocked because we have plastic waste on the streets. And what measures are both the federal government and the state government putting in place to reduce this waste? We have factories today that are into recycling, crushing of plastics. I think there should be incentive in place to encourage more companies to come into crushing this plastic. And before you begin to think of maybe generating revenue, you need to look at the margin, the turnover, the number of people you will encourage to go into this particular industry. If you look at our metal industry today, what we are doing today is basically recycling the scraps. So the effect of scrap littering around the society is gradually reducing, affecting our environment positively. So what we have to say here today is that MAN is in supportive of circular economy, manufacturers are in supportive of circular economy. If there is a better time to talk about circular economy, it is now, because we can no longer import, because we cannot access forests. And for how long are we going to continue to export what we have in abundance that is causing a nuisance to our economy? So please, I think, let me stop here for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I love that last submission. There's no better time for us to adopt the circular economy model than now, especially when it is difficult to access foreign exchange. But more critically, it is also much more important now because we need to also be able to manage the resources that we have in such a manner that we don't have to push out most of our funds to overseas producers. I will be turning to Josephine. Josephine, I said I have a question. I think I'm going to throw it at you. Is circular economy only limited to material management? Does it affect service delivery? Because everybody knows that mainly what we have with respect to governance, public sector is all about service delivery. We are not in the process of product manufacturing. So is circular economy, can we adopt it in governance, and in what way can it be effective? Thank you.